I am the managing director of a conservation non-profit company called the Phalaborwa Natural Heritage Foundation. So we started the non-profit in 2020. We did not expect to have expanded and grown so much in the last 5 years. We started out basically just assisting with snare removals on properties, and we got more and more and more properties and officials and reserve managers and property owners reaching out and saying, please, we've got a massive crisis with snares. And it just snowballed from there, and people reaching out saying, listen, there's an animal walking around with a snare, there's nobody that's able to assist, can you please assist? And that is where this thing started. And we started to notice an overlap with what we do and our local volunteers, and them being members of SA Hunters and Game Conservation Mopani branch. We decided to take hands and start collaborating. So between Phalaborwa Natural Heritage Foundation and SA Hunters and Game Conservation Association National, and on the local Mopani branch, we've got a MOU where we collaborate and work together on a variety of different conservation projects. So we quite often assist the local conservation authorities and quite a few reserves and properties as well. We collaborate and work together with quite a few organizations in the area, in the Lowveld. And we try and assist where, if there's an animal in distress, if there is an emergency relocation that needs to happen, an animal that broke out and ended up in an area where it's not supposed to be, or if it's an animal that has got a wound that's caused by a snare, then we assist. We will plan the entire operation. We will get a helicopter in if it's needed, like we recently did one with a wild dog that had a snare on its neck, horrific wound. We were worried because it was quite compromised, but in the end, magnificent darting done by a veterinarian and flying by the chopper pilot, where they managed to get it out of the air and remove the snare. The brother of that specific dog was darted, I think, 2 weeks prior, and they had to amputate his leg also from a snare. We covered the cost between us and another organization. We covered the cost of the helicopter and the veterinarian and the entire operation. So we regularly do that, where we assist with lions, hyena, leopard. The other day we had a leopard that became a cattle killer, unfortunately, and he had to be relocated. And Ledette reached out and asked, please, can we assist with a veterinarian that can help just to dart, because they suspected he had a snare around his neck. And it was an old snare wound, so we got a veterinarian in who darted him, and then we safely moved him into the transport crate and sent him to his new forever home. Since the beginning of 2023, we've done a lot. We've done at least, I think, 5 or 6 hyenas that we've helped to take snares off of, lions, collaring of lions, collaring of wild dog, hyena. We assisted with elephant operations where the snares have been removed, changing collars or placing collars, tracking collars on elephants. If the opportunity is there and we can get the animal and we can treat it and save it, then we put in the effort and we try it. Sometimes something that is difficult for people to understand is resources is scarce, and you have to try and turn every cent around as much as you can and spread it out as much as you can. So if we have to deal with something like an impala, and especially if I know that the only veterinarians that are available are the guys that charge us maybe a little bit more, or it's going to be a difficult operation where we need specialized equipment, if we have to get a drone pilot in, or if we need a helicopter or anything like that that pushes the cost up, then quite often we make the call to say it might be best to actually euthanize the animal and put it out of its misery, rather than spend all of the resources to try and save that animal. In South Africa, animals have got monetary value because they can be owned by people. So quite often then the cost of saving this animal is higher than that animal's monetary value, but also it can mean that the ecological value of that animal is quite low, let's say like something like an impala or a warthog, and then the cost to save it is higher. Quite often the cost to dart and rescue a warthog, which takes a lot of drugs to knock it out, is similar to that of a lion. So lions are ecologically and economically more important than a warthog. So we have to try and look at what is more important for us resource-wise, where we can spend the money and say, okay, you know what, this is worth it. Whereas I don't want to sit with a situation where we have to rescue something that is endangered or critically endangered or really important in the local system. and we can't because we've got a lack of resources. So it's difficult at times, and people don't always understand. It's a difficult decision to make, but it's one that has to be made.